Today, Manitoba announced their new Digital Health ID, while PEI police force wants you to know what a hate crime is and especially how to report it. My name is Nico Lagan, and I'm too conservative for the conservatives. My co-host Rob Ambrose, not woke enough for the liberals. We are the political orphans. So Manitoba just announced their new Digital Health ID. And yes, you heard that right.
Okay.
The PEI police force is going around training people on how to recognize a hate crime and especially how to report it. Welcome to China. This is absolutely insane, but here we are with yet another digital ID. And, that's one of the topics I want to speak about all the time because it is, in my opinion, the line in the sand. If we cross that line, we are screwed. And Wab Kinew, the premier Wab Kinew, the premier of Manitoba, was proud today to announce their new digital ID, which is their provincial health ID. Can't call it the provincial health card anymore. But here is the premier of Manitoba proudly announcing this new card.
The news of the day, we're moving from paper to plastic, and now we're moving from plastic to pixels. You can now get a digital health card. I did mine last night.
Oh, there we go. Ain't that swell?
Was that on X?
Yep. I might have to download it. Oh, that's so annoying when it happens.
That's the same press conference I saw earlier today where he's talking about. He's also talking about the U.S. and he said the United States is turning into a third world country. I saw this guy. He's like, brother, look behind you.
There was a great video about how the state of Manitoba.
Yep.
So here we go. Let's try that again.
The news of the day, we're moving from paper.
What the fuck? Oh man.
Yeah,
we are I think it's StreamYard having issues, but
StreamYard's been acting up a lot lately.
Yeah, 100%. I will we're looking at a different myself and somebody else are looking at a different platform that is more high end, so let's see how that goes. But for the time being, I will just download the video and I'll play it directly from my laptop. That means I'm going to download all the rest too.
Yep. And while we're doing that, we can talk about it a little bit. But yeah, so it's digital health cards, So it's honestly it's just weird how you see all these things happen everywhere at the same time.
Well, you'll see something, and this is the whole point of me wanting to talk about it, is that I went around and I looked at all the provinces that are talking about it, that have already won, that are in the process, like the state of where we are right now in all provinces in Canada. And I was kind of surprised. It seems that a lot of them happen behind closed doors, as in I don't live in those provinces, so I'm probably not aware of them because I wasn't looking for them. But you'll see that most provinces either have one or in the process of having one, and I have the list. So here's the video. Hopefully this works.
We're moving from paper to plastic, and now we're moving from plastic to pixels. You can now get a digital health card. I did mine last night. I just unlocked my phone and using a secure process, that's how long it took me to pull it up. You got a QR code on it. You can't see my PIN number because it's hidden when you initially unlock it. So there's a privacy and all sorts of other features being looked at. But this is just another way that we're modernizing healthcare to meet the needs of you and your family. There's some nostalgia. Some people like the paper health cards because all your kids are on there. That's fine. Keep it that way. But for everyone else who was thinking, you know, it's time for Manitoba to move into the 1980s technology-wise. Well, hey, we brought forward the plastic health card. Now, some could argue we're moving into the 2000s, maybe even the 2020s with the introduction of digital health cards. So there's a lot of catch-up you have to do after the PCs cut healthcare for many years. We're here for it.
He's trying, you know, like they always do, he's trying to sell the idea that it's more convenient. But here's the status of most of the provinces in Canada. So Manitoba is not the first province to do this. Danielle Smith, if you remember, launched a mobile health card accessible through their digital wallet back in August last year. British Columbia has the BC Services Card app, which allows residents to access their health record and identity services digitally. Ontario has the My Ontario account for health, which also provides a secure access to a health record using your health card, and has signaled a move towards a digital wallet for several years now. In Quebec, digital access. In Quebec, we have the digital access for health record, but they don't have a digital ID yet. But they are overhauling their digital infrastructure, and the budget for the digital transformation project is around $3 billion. Saskatchewan currently has no digital ID or wallet. Nova Scotia recently launched the My Health NS app, the foundation for moving towards a digital health identity. And New Brunswick has been exploring a digital ID, but has nothing yet. So you're looking at a bunch of different provinces that already have one. But here's a prediction that I have for the guys out there, for the people out there. I predict that just like Australia, the new bill or the new version of Bill C-63 will introduce a social media age verification system, just like Australia, which will be the first step of a federal digital ID. That's my prediction. Like the new Bill C-63 will have age verification implemented for social media platforms. So the provincial are all bringing in their digital ID, and then the federal is going to do it using social media. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I mean, seems usually these kind of programs have a trial run somewhere. You know, I think I'm in Nova Scotia. I haven't heard anything about it in my province, but I kind of feel like it's all heading that way. It's all heading that direction. You know, pretty soon it's going to be, well, you're not going to be able to get healthcare without your digital ID.
And you know, this is where it's going. You know exactly this is where it's going. Same thing as what they were saying, what the Keir Starmer is saying in the UK, that within the next 3 to 4 years, if you don't have a digital ID, you won't be able to work. You know, this is where they're going. They're going to sell you the idea that it is, oh, it's for your convenience, it's safe and it's secure, it's easy. Look how easy I could pull it, and even did it. Look how fast I could pull it off of my phone. You know how fast it takes me? Like 2 seconds. Beep. Card's out of my wallet too, asshole. That means nothing to me. You're the convenience, but unfortunately, it will probably speak to a lot of Canadians out there. And it's probably how they're going to be able to push it. But to me, say no to digital ID, say no to C2, C8, C9, C12, C16, the new C63. They're all the same thing. They're all connect to the digital age and to be able to censor. And if you don't realize this yet, Bill C8 is to build the infrastructure needed to implement everything that we're seeing right now. So we are living in a very, very interesting time, and I don't know that the average Canadian's actually paying attention.
No. I mean, I don't think there'd be any reason why anyone would see anything nefarious in you know, a digital ID for health. You know, I think certain parts of certainly the online right are going to be tuned to certain keywords and stuff that's going to make them stand out. You know, I think when you hear like digital ID, again, we've talked about this before, I think people just think it's just an ID card, just another ID card, you know, online. And I don't think they see that it would be anything negative or any sort of an issue. And really, it all depends on what the card's used for. If it's just to streamline health benefits, then that's one thing. But if it's going to be used to, as Starmer's talking about in the UK, deny you work if you don't have it, that's a real problem.
But how does it start? At the end of the day, this is the question. There's two things to keep in mind. One, do you trust the government? That's a question every single person out there should ask themselves. Do you trust the government? Then, why would they introduce a digital ID? Sure, convenience, like they keep on talking about. They're always mentioning convenience.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the end goal? They're not going to stop there. They're going to, once you get used to having a digital health card, people are going to ask for all their services to be available online, to be able to just download an app, have it on my phone, and pop out, it's done, because it is simple. It is extremely, extremely simple. Remember during COVID, the vaccination app, that's what it was, right? You had to have an app showing, at least in Quebec, they had an app to show your vaccination status that you had to show to people in order to go to a restaurant, for example. And it's always sold for convenience, but where does it end? You know that the next step is to integrate your federal services with an app to be available on your phone. Same thing with all your provincial services. So the next on the province level is probably going to be your driver's license, going to be available there. So is your health card, so is whatever benefit you have. And when does it stop? It doesn't. Next is you need this to authenticate yourself to go online. And that's what's going to happen. That digital card starts with a very, very simple service like health, where people are going to probably just say yes, no problem. Then the next step, like I said earlier, it's going to be the government's going to tell us that we need to authenticate to go online, to go on social media, just like Australia is doing, all for the sake of our children, to protect our children. Then next thing you know, all those identities are confirmed, right? They're backed by a government approved ID, so they know who you are. They can connect them in the back end without you knowing, because that is data. Once it's out there, they're not getting rid of that data. And what's the next step afterwards? They have your health records, so chances are they know exactly what you look like. They might have your fingerprints. They might have the shape of your face, what you look like. They can use facial recognition like Palantir to follow you around, to know where you are. It sounds crazy when you just hear it like this, but this is where it starts. It all starts there. And you think it's crazy. We were talking about this yesterday. How was it yesterday or the day before, where the people in the UK probably never thought that it would get to a point where people were arrested for social media posts, but here we are. And this kind of bridge, this is why I'm bridging. I wanted to talk about digital ID, and I wanted to talk about what's just been reported in PEI, because both of them connect. You have your digital ID, and then we're starting to hear about literally thought police in PEI. PEI's police force wants their community to know what a hate crime is and how to report it.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear their definition of this.
Well, here you go.
Charlottetown police are looking to be more proactive when it comes to hate crimes in the city. Officers say these cases often go unreported. Now, the department is not only stepping up its own training, it's also looking to learn from communities that can be impacted by this kind of crime and educate people on how to recognize it and report it.
There's no certainty, really. It sometimes is subjective, and what's a hate crime to somebody may not be, or may be interpreted differently from somebody else. So we have to learn, as the policing community in general, what affects a community, what type of language, what slogans and whatnot.
We heard you. This is what we've done.
The training is being led by Craig Upshaw with the Canadian Race Relations Foundation. He says a hate crime has to be a criminal offense motivated by hate against an identifiable group. But sometimes there are hurdles to reporting. He says people think it's normalized. Maybe they don't trust the police, or they worry it can make the situation worse.
If you don't report, then police can't do the job. We need to work together, and that's the importance of today's session. We got to start dealing with it before that gets worse. That becomes that virus that's spreading. We need to make sure that we pay attention, that people are feeling safe and that we're actually doing something to help them feel safe.
Charlottetown police say there have been 9 reports of hate crimes in the last 3 years. But a report doesn't always result in charges. With diversity increasing on PEI, being proactive is key, and engagement is crucial.
We are dealing now with different cultures and different ethnic groups from many different parts of the world. And we need to know about who you are, what affects you, how we can help you. We want to be educated. We want to know about your culture.
Police say if this is successful, they will likely see an increase in hate crime reports. The training is taking place.
Yeah, I just gotta pause that there. Yeah, of course. If you create an entire category of crime and then teach this invented category of crime to cops and the community, you will see an increase in the reports of that crime. Like, do they not understand? Like, I'd also like to know more about this Canadian committee on race relations. Is this a government entity? Is it just a bunch of activists like that? Because that's a lot of power to be the ones training the police to be able to detect. Oh yeah, okay. So here's Rusty Wiener, Race Relations Foundation. It's a Crown corporation. Okay, run by what, activists now? Because that, like I said, that's a lot of power to be able to be the ones training the police on what is a crime and what is not.
So the Canadian Race Relations Foundation, CRRF, is a federal crown corporation and charitable organization established in 1997 as part of the Japanese-Canadian Redress Agreement to foster racial harmony, eliminate racism, and promote cross-cultural understanding in Canada. It operates under the Canadian Race Relations Foundation Act, which mandates the foundation to undertake research, collect data, and develop a national information base to further understanding of racism and racial discrimination, while also acting as a clearinghouse for resources and facilitating dialogue amongst public, private, and community sector. The CRRF is governed by a board of directors appointed by the governor and council on the recommendation of the Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture, currently Mark Miller, which used to be that, Gilbo, the climate activist, the climate change activist, and is headquartered in Toronto, Ontario. Its mission includes advancing public policy on anti-racism, so lobbying the government, supporting community organization through grants and partnerships, taking taxpayers' money and giving it to organization, and promoting systemic change to build a more inclusive and equitable society. So DEI. Yeah. That is Aurelian right there. Holy bejesus. This is insane. So this is a crown corporation. So that means it's ran like a business, which the government is incapable of running a business. That's pretty clear. And it reports to Mark Miller, the Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture. This is the same guy that said that the Bible was hateful. Remember?
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that guy.
This is
that definitely seems a bit problematic. I did it now. So that little clip there, they say that they're going to be, training cops, training communities how to recognize it. Do they actually say what is? Okay, so they didn't get that much into it.
No, well, of course they don't, because what's happening right now. They're talking about this because what have I been saying for months? They need Bill C9. C2 needs C9, C8 needs C9, C12 needs C9. All the bills that have to do with hate in Canada need C9 because C9 has the definition. Mm-hmm. And remember what the definition is. More than disdain. That's the definition of hate. So basically anything can be hate. And as Bruce Party said on our show, they are criminalizing emotions. That's the reality we're facing. So we have a crown corporation funded by Canadian, just like VRL, just like Canada Post, going around in PEI training police officers so that they can recognize hate speech, and they will probably train the communities on how to recognize hate speech. And if you remember, Bill C9 also gives the power to police to arrest people for hate crime without going to the courts. Because right now, it needs to be proven to be a crime. So now the police officers are going to have the power to decide what is and what isn't a crime based on emotions. That is insane. That is absolutely nonsense. Nonsense.
Oh, yeah. Here's a comment by Beaver Grease. Love that name. Says Bill C9 talks about the hate directed at identifiable groups. That's a great point. I'm really, just as a general rule, I'm uncomfortable, and I really don't like the idea that we've got a set of crimes that if you do it to one group of people in society, it's a crime, but if you do it to another group, it's not a crime. For example, white people are not an identifiable group, even though they are still a majority in this country. I don't like the idea that my 17-year-old son, if someone says something to him, it's not a crime, but if someone else says something to a brown 17-year-old kid, it is. I don't like that. I don't like that idea. Again, we keep hammering this again and again. Can't have a society where you have several tiers of justice, where you apply the law unevenly depending on the skin color of the person being offended. I don't that's a recipe for tearing society apart at the seams.
And unfortunately, that's the reality we're facing as we speak right now.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I'm always hammering those bills. Remember, C2, C8, C9, C12, C16, and the new C63. That one scares me. I'm really, really scared to see what Bill C63, the new version of Bill C63, is going to look like. Because I think this one will be the worst we've ever seen by far. Already that the original one was the worst. They're going to step it up a notch and make it even worse than what we've seen in the past. So that one is definitely going to be problematic, but it's hard to believe that this is Canada. Very hard for me to believe that this is Canada.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure people in the UK would be shocked if you told me even 2 or 3 years ago that people are going to be arrested for mean tweets or for hurting people's feelings on the internet. And now it's what, 20,000, 25,000 people have been arrested.
Yeah, it's about 13,000 people a year in 2023, 2024. I haven't seen the numbers for 2025 yet, but yes, 13. So about 26,000 people between 2023 and 2024. Sheridan Forbes is saying, never speak the truth or share personal opinions in public. You will be punished. Canada doesn't welcome the truth. Sadly, it's not welcomed. This is exactly why you need to speak it. This is the exact reason why you need to do it. Remember what John Carpe said. If you, for something like hate crimes or hate speech, just report everything you hear. If those come through, if those bills actually do become reality, which I believe they will. But if they do, remember what John Carpe said, just report hate speech on every single politician out there. Every single one of them, just report hate speech every day. And you're going to clog the system. The system's not going to work. There's going to be too many demands, and you're going to crash the system. Because that system, at the end of the day, just like you see in the UK, the vast majority of people are not going to prison. But like we always say, the process has become the punishment. They want to make sure that you're scared to post. This is how it starts, dude.
It's got a chilling effect, right? That's the point of these laws.
Of course it does. Of course it does. Yep. That's the whole point, because the average individual does not want to get a knock at the door at 2:00 in the morning. Well, I don't have either. I don't want that either. It's not going to stop talking, but all to say that I don't want it either.
And that's why they do it.
It's enough to stop them. Of course.
And that's why they do it. And that's a page right out of like the classic fascist, secret police, Nazi playbook. Yeah, there's a lot of psychological terror, or a lot of value in the psychological terror that comes from the neighbors that would wake up and their neighbor is gone. They're just gone in the night. The government came and dragged them out of their beds at 1 a.m. and never see them again. They go to the gulag for 20 years or something, hard labor, or just get executed or something. This is a page straight out of the dictator playbook. And it's, you can't tell me that they're not intentionally showing up at these people's doors at 1 a.m. Fucking 1 a.m. They're doing that absolutely on purpose. And it's for the value of the psychological terror of it. So yeah, I mean, this is like you said, a lot of these people are not going to prison. They're not going to fill the prisons with this. They just want to terrify people. They just want to terrify people from speaking, and it's fucking insane. Where's the left? Where's the left who's talking about fascism and Nazis and this and that? Because this is real fascism, guys. This is actual fascism.
They're not going to talk against it because they agree with it.
Yeah.
And as Trevor Benson is saying, this is the next step. So you're going to start seeing people getting re-educated. Remember,
re-education camps.
But you're laughing. But remember, Dr. Peterson. They went after his license as a psychologist in Ontario for comments that he made about that dude, that woman that's a dude now,
Yes.
that actress. I can't remember what her name is.
Ellen
Page. So he made comments about her. I don't remember exactly what he said. This was years ago, but he was facing losing his license, or if he didn't want to lose his license, he had to be re-educated. If I'm not mistaken, he's still sick, so he said, "Screw the license," because he probably makes a lot more money doing what he does now than doing psychology work. But that's how it works. So you don't say what we want you to say, you're going to lose your license that you need to have in order to practice. But if you want to keep your license, that's okay. We'll give you a chance to be re-educated. This is literally 1984. This is taken out of 1984, where the main character in that book gets re-educated. And we're seeing it right now. And it's only going to get worse, guys. I'm sorry to say that it's going to have to get worse before it gets better, before people wake up to this, because we're clearly not listening or paying attention to what's happening in Australia and what's happening in the UK. But just look at social media, how it has changed people's speech. Like, even the people that create content on social media don't use certain words like unaliving. Instead of saying that person got killed or murdered, people say unalived, so that they don't get dinged by the algorithm. So even in social media spaces, people are getting re-educated to use different words so that it doesn't affect their algorithm. I refuse to do it. I will never do it. They can suck on my balls. I'm not doing that. But a lot of people are doing it because they want to keep the views, they want to keep the comments up, and the algorithm does not like certain words. So it's already started. It's not just the government. It is done on the social media base as well. And like we talked about 2 days ago about why they were going after X especially, and not going after Meta or ChatGPT and Gemini for deep fakes, is because they play ball when X doesn't. Elon Musk is not playing ball with governments, and they're suing him left, right, and center. But they're not suing Meta. They're not going after ChatGPT. They're not going after Gemini or YouTube because they're playing ball. That's just one of the other ways they re-educate our speech. Like double talk, right? They're dumbing us down 100%. To what we can and cannot say, even on social media. And Jane is making a great point. Jane Hardy saying censorship is the tool used when the lies lose its power. And it's true. When people start seeing through the lies, they start calling them out. This is where censorship comes into place. And it's always used by tyrants. Look at what's happening in Iran right now. What did they do? Cut the internet to the people so that they could not show videos of them getting arrested, them maybe getting murdered, them getting abused, or just showing the protests. But it's always a tool used by tyrants. Yet, as you said earlier, a lot of the woke left, especially the woke left, but a lot of the left are not seeing a problem in this because they align with the government right now. They don't realize that one day they will go after their speech.
Well, I mean, one day it's going to turn against them, right? And that's actually, speaking of Iran, that's a great example of exactly what happened. The left, you know, they weren't called the woke back then, but the activist left was very active in Iran. You know, Iran was a secular, modern, Western aligned nation. They had a right and a left, and the left in that country was very active in bringing about the downfall of the Shah, and they aligned with the Islamists like they do now. And as soon as they came to power, the Islamists rounded them up and executed them. So, like, they're going to turn it. The left are always the activist left, the far left are always the useful idiots of tyrants and dictators.
There was a place, I can't remember the name of the city, but I believe it was in Michigan. It's one of the states that touches Canada, where they elected their first majority Muslim council for mayor and the council of the city. A lot of the trans, a lot of the gays, a lot of the LGBTQ people voted for them under the name of tolerance. And the first thing that they did when they got in power, they banned the LGBTQ flag. Like, screw you, you're not playing this shit.
Dearborn?
I can't remember.
Michigan?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. Yeah. What? Dearborn, Michigan?
Dearborn,
Yeah, I believe that you're correct, that's what it is, but that's the perfect example right there. Yeah, Dearborn, Michigan. That's what the Rusty Wiener's saying. Yep, that's it. I think that is
speaking of Iran, did you hear the latest numbers out today? It looks like there's 12,000. The 12,000 dead is the numbers. So those are unconfirmed, but it's from CBS.
Yep.
So it you know, it's there's some, you know, if even the mainstream media is reporting it, there might be some validity to it. Chris H says Iran is a CIA Mossad backed coup attempt. Yeah, maybe, but it's still, I mean, does it matter? If it's a good thing to get the Islamic regime out, if the CIA helps them do it, I don't see how that's a problem. I agree.
That's kind of what the CIA does, though. That's kind of what the CIA does. They changed the Shah. The Shah was in favor of the U.S.
Now,
the Shah was a fan of the West. So by him getting replaced, they lost a major ally in the Middle East. And would they want to gain another ally in the Middle East? Of course they would.
Sure
Obviously they would.
And I'm not even, I mean, it's not my business. I'm not Iranian. They can do what they want. But if it were up to me, you know, I wouldn't necessarily say install the Shah or anything. I think they should just have elections, democratic elections. But even whatever it is, it's going to be better than the current murderous Islamic regime, both for the people of Iran and the people of the world, because Iran is a major international sponsor of terrorism against the West. It's absolute just lunacy for anyone in the West to be any kind of supportive of the Islamic regime in Iran.
Here's a great one. Outside looking in is saying the Iranian people are in favor of this. And yesterday, if you didn't see the episode, we recorded with Salman Mani from Iran. He was an Iranian. He's from Iran. He was jailed in Iran. He was in solitary confinement at 3 different times. He escaped to Canada. And he even said it on the show yesterday that Iranians are welcoming Trump's help. So it's not even a CIA. It's not even, forget the CIA, Mossad, forget Israel. They want Trump to get involved directly. And Trump is alluding to the fact that he would. So I'm curious to see if that 12,000 is quantified, because the numbers, the numbers that were announced yesterday when I was looking, the official numbers from mainstream media is around 200 people had been killed, 2,000 jailed. I saw some reports saying about 2,000 people had been killed. And what did Salman say on the show yesterday? That in his opinion, it's more than 10,000.
Wow. Yep.
And what do you say? You said reports around 12,000 or
About
more.
12,000. Yeah. So yeah,
it's very interesting. It's not interesting, but it seems that he was pretty bang on. Trevor's saying Trump has already got his own problems down south. He can't save the world. As much as I agree with you, it would be a massive ally. Trump is not, let's be real here, Trump is not doing this out of the goodness of his heart. It's because it would be a massive ally for the US in the Middle East.
Yeah,
like it would serve a purpose.
And you got to think of it from the great game perspective, right? With these great powers all over the world, they're constantly maneuvering, and yeah, of course, this is in some ways bullshit. Like it's the common man, you know, the working class of all over the world that is the one that suffers in this. But you know, the game still gets played, and right now, Iran is a major ally of China. You know, they sell a lot of their oil to China. To turn that around into a Western aligned nation, I mean, that's just going to be massively beneficial to America. It's in America's best interest for sure.
Cheeky Jazz is saying that they're doing it for Israel. Same thing as Trevor's saying the same thing, that they're doing it for Israel. And I think they're right. I think that it's a massive help to Israel.
Oh, Israel is a huge help to Israel. It's also a huge. I mean, it's not one dimensional, right? There's a million things. Like it is a massive help to Israel for sure, but it's also a massive help to the United States. As far as, I'm not advocating any sort of like invasion or war. I'm just saying, I'm just looking at it from their perspective. You know, it is, as far as, if you look at American geopolitical interests all over the world, it's easy to make the case that it is beneficial for them. Now, should they do it? That's a completely different discussion. I'm just saying that this is probably the thinking.
Should he had invaded Venezuela or take out Nicolas Maduro? Up to interpretation, but you look at the Venezuelans, they seem, at least I'm not in Venezuela, so I can't
they seem happy.
Speak about it firsthand, but how many videos out there have I seen of Venezuelans celebrating? I haven't seen any of them being pissed off that Nicolas Maduro is no longer their president, right?
Yeah.
So is it the same thing in the Shaw? Or are they just using the US
everybody's
to
using
do their bidding?
Right? Like, everyone has their own interests, and everyone's going to use everyone, even their allies are going to use their allies. It's a very complicated thing. I think, you know, with the Venezuela thing, I think in hindsight, in retrospect, if this, like, assuming that there's not like some insurgency that props up, and there's some like 2 or 3 year long war like in Iraq where they get bogged down and thousands of American servicemen die. But if this is all it is, that, you know, 50 Venezuelan guards were killed, they got rid of Maduro, and that's basically it, I think that's a huge success. And I think retroactively it was justified. You know, I think a lot of the argument against these sorts of incursions is people are sick of these forever wars, right? Now, if he went into Venezuela and this started, you know, a multi-year guerrilla warfare insurgency that they couldn't get out of, like Iraq was, then obviously that would be retroactively a bad decision. But if this is all it is, if he's able to get Maduro, get out with only whatever, you know, 50 of Maduro's bodyguards killed and no real war, no real insurgency, I mean, that's a huge success.
Like Rusty Wiener saying, I tend to agree with him. I'm a staunchly isolationist. Foreign protesters protesting foreign issues need to be deported, no questions asked. I don't believe, you know this, I don't believe in foreign help, especially not when our country's suffering, when 25% to 28% of Canadians are having problems affording food. I don't want to get involved in foreign wars either. I don't want to give foreign help. I want this help to stay in Canada. So I agree with Rusty Wiener. I agree, like we were talking about yesterday on the show, that some cultures don't align. And it's okay. That's totally okay. That doesn't mean I'm racist for not wanting them here. It is simple that my culture does not align with yours. So go to a country where your culture is prevalent, not a Christian country. That's fine. That there's no problems there. So we need to be better at protecting ourselves, protecting our money, and keeping it into Canada and helping Canadian. But when it comes to what Trump is doing, like we did an episode on that last week on the Monroe Doctrine, and that's what he's using, right? That's exactly what he's using, or the Dunroe, what was it? The Dunroe Doctrine, the Dunroe Doctrine, to protect the Western Hemisphere, and he's protecting it from Chinese influence. And if you look at the reports from CSIS, you look at the reports from the RCMP, they are showing that we have a massive Chinese influence right here in Canada. So agree or disagree with the way Trump is doing it, which one would you rather be under? An American president or be under China influence? It sucks because this is not the best of both worlds. You're just like when you're voting in an election, you're selecting the worst of two options. It's like, what's the best of two worst? What's the best of two bad? What's the one I want? They're not perfect. Those are not the ones that I want, but what's best? And I think that's what we're seeing going on in Venezuela. That's what's happening in Iran. That's what's going to probably happen here. That I'd rather be influenced by the US than be influenced by China. Personally, I think I align with their values a lot more. But at the same time, it's still people controlling. I would still rather not be involved in other people's business and people staying away from our business.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, and you got to, there's a difference between the United States and Canada. Like, I can understand why America is going around, trying to influence events all over the world. They're trying to get outcomes that are beneficial to them and American interests. But Canada doesn't really have global interests, right? We're not a great power. We're not out there playing the great game against all the other great powers. We're just here. There's no reason for us to be going around getting involved in coup attempts or trying to undermine different countries. Yeah. We don't need to be sending $10 billion to Ukraine because we need that money here. We are not in a good position economically. And that, if you have 10 billion kicking around, it can be much better put to use here in Canada.
Well, that's a great segue. There's a couple more stories I wanted us to cover, and you're kind of giving me one on a silver platter here. Carney announced yesterday that he will be investing $5 billion in our healthcare system over the next 3 years to upgrade hospitals, emergency rooms, and urgent care centers so that you can get the healthcare you need when you need it. What a crock of shit. Our system costs, in 2025, it's estimated that our healthcare in Canada cost $400 billion. He wants to make a 1.25% investment over 3 years, while this year alone, he has sent over $8.8 billion to Ukraine.
Yeah. I mean,
I rest my fucking case. Like, what type of ideology bullshit that is? You're $5 billion over 3 years on a system that costs $400 billion a year, and you have the audacity to send almost twice that in the past 10 months to Ukraine, and you're acting like you're doing us a favor. God knows Brookfield is not in healthcare, or else we would have the best healthcare system in the world.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is a good point. Like, everyone knows how shitty the healthcare system is right now. It needs a lot of money put into it, and we're putting $5 billion over 3 years. Wouldn't it be nicer if we could put 15 billion over 3 years? You know, imagine if we just didn't give that money to the Ukraine and put that into our healthcare system. You might actually see an improvement. You might actually see a difference. It might actually make a difference. I don't see 5 billion over 3 years. Yeah, I don't see 5 billion over 3 years going to do a whole lot.
We're not addressing the actual issue. The issue is mass immigration. The issue is that our immigration policies have destroyed a system that was already broken. It has completely decimated our healthcare system that was already not doing well. And we haven't stopped letting those people in. We're still accepting hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of immigrants through our borders every year. And we just keep on doing it, and we keep on doing it, and we keep on doing it. And now we have our prime minister that wants to make a 1.25% investment over the next 3 years on a system that runs $400 billion a year. And let's make it even worse. I saw this article, since I'm talking about immigration here. I saw this article from the Backlog's reporter, and I'm just going to show it quickly so you have an idea. Then I'll actually show you the numbers I found, because we talk about asylum seekers all the time, but Backlog reporter is reporting that the Immigration and Refugee Board yesterday said it needs private sector help to clear a backlog of rising refugee claims that is nearly 4 years long. The board chair earlier described the volume as a shock. They come, they ask for refugee status, they have to prove their claims. So here are the numbers. We are looking at, right now, there's a backlog in early 2026 of 300,000 pending cases for asylum seekers or refugee status. 300,000 outstanding in January 2026. The backlog is leading to an extremely long wait. Yeah, no shit it is. 300,000 people are waiting right now in Canada, being on taxpayers' money. They're living off our dime for just making a claim. However, if it's true that it's $80,000 a year that it costs us, I cannot find those numbers. I haven't been able to find numbers that high, but they cost us money. 300,000 people. That's almost a percent of our population. That's almost a percent of our population in Canada is not ours, and we need to provide for them. You don't think they have access to our healthcare? Of course they do.
Oh no, they do. They do. There's no, this is where, a lot of the activists will get real cute and be like, oh, we don't give them anything. We like, or they'll point to, we might give them like $50 a month in spending cash or just disposable income. Be like, they only get $50 a month. Be like, no, that's not all they get. That's the only money they get in their bank account. But we also pay for their health care. We pay for their lodging. We pay for their food. So when you factor all these things in, the number's gonna be something like $70,000 or $80,000. It has to be, because they show up with nothing, right? And we don't allow them to work, so we are on the hook for to feed them, to give them. They also they'll give them phones and pay for their phones and stuff. And the whole thing is crazy. So even if they get denied 3 years after they're here, they still cost us $200,000 a person, give or take, maybe 150. And they've been here, and there's 300,000 of them. So you do the math. Like it's massive, massive, massive numbers. And most of that money or benefits, that whatever money they do get in their pocket, that goes back home. That goes back to India or wherever they're from. And it's just wealth leaving our country, and there's no need for it. There's most of these cases can be adjudicated by someone immediately. They can, if they had they should have like some sort of triage where they have judges or whatever who are adjudicating the cases quickly. Just ask them a few key questions, and they can say immediately, no, you're not going to qualify. You're on the next plane out or something. It's crazy.
Stop refusing visitor, because a lot of them, you know what they're doing, right? They come here on a visitor visa, so they fly here. Once they get here, they apply for the status, because you need to apply in person.
Yeah.
So just, what Trump had done, block certain people from accessing his country. We could do the exact same thing. If you're going on a visitor visa from India, sorry, not interested. That's 30% of the people that show up in Canada right now are from India. 30%. Sorry, not interested. India is a third world country. Sure. You have no claim to be an asylum here. You have no claim to asylum. Absolutely.
What's hilarious too
not.
Is
but
the
remember,
whole point of asylum
that's 300,000. But that's 300,000 backlog. That's just the backlog. That's what they weren't able to clear.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
But you know what they like? Look at the numbers right here. In 2024, there's reports saying that there were at least 3.1 million new individual application lodged in Canada. Now that can't be. That doesn't sound right. That has to be the wrong numbers. There's no way. Hold on. Let me confirm.
Wait, what are you looking
there's
at?
no way.
What are you looking at?
No, but there's no way. No, it's just that sometimes they don't give you the right information.
Right.
Hold on.
Just get
that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Hey.
Get the update numbers.
3.1
You know what's wild
too?
too?
4.1 million?
Is when you hear about, because the whole point of asylum is these people are supposed to fear for their life, right? Like they're afraid if they go back, they will get killed. And yet it's extremely common. Once they show up here, they claim asylum, they get put up in a hotel for 2 years or whatever, and then they go back. Then they go back to their country on vacation or for Diwali or for whatever, their cousin's birthday or wedding. It's like, motherfucker, you're not fearing for your life. This is that should be taken as proof of a fraudulent asylum claim, just right there. If you fear for your life, you should never be allowed to go back there. And if you ever go back, then your asylum claim is revoked.
That's a no-brainer to me. Like we need to fix our asylum seekers, our refugees. We need to fix our international students. That's all stuff that needs to be our temporary worker or IMPs. They all need to be stopped. Like we need to put a massive stop. The more this goes, the more I am for a complete stop on immigration. Like complete fucking stop on immigration.
I mean, I'm not there yet, but it should be done like first and foremost, immigration should only be done as a benefit to Canada. Period. If it's not a benefit to Canada, why the fuck would we do it? It's not a charity. We should just be picking and choosing from the world's best and brightest and most educated, the people who are already educated, who already have something to offer, and just picking and choosing the best in the world. Like to be one of the few countries in the world that people, probably there's really only probably 5 or 6 countries that 95% of all global migrants even want to go. And to be one of them is a pretty massive advantage, as long as you do it right, which is pick and choose the best and the brightest from the entire world, and only in sectors that you need. Everyone should bring something to the table. Like, fuck this immigration as a charity thing. Immigration as just helping out poor and uneducated people. That's if you want to help out poor and uneducated people, donate your time, donate your money to charities that help those people out in their own countries.
So we haven't seen the complete numbers for 2025 yet for asylum seekers / refugee claims. But listen to this. In 2014, for the total year, there were 13,500 claims. 13,500 in 2024.
Last year?
In 2014, there were 13,500.
Okay. I was going to say, that seems kind of low, but claims. I got to feel like it's...
Last year, 2024 was 150,000. And
That's
last
wild.
year, I guarantee you that it's double that. The numbers that
That's
I've seen were
crazy.
between 200 and 300,000. And those are not permanent resident. Those are not visitor visa.
Those are
Those are
just
not
asylum.
international students.
Those are not
Those are
included in
people.
any of the other in any of the other
No,
programs.
those are people that we take under our care because they are supposedly from a country that is war torn, or people are going after them for
Or
their
they
life.
fear for their life. And they're
Yes.
coming from like India or fucking Bangladesh. Like, yeah, those might be poor countries, but those are not countries that you're fearing for your life. I don't believe that for 1 second. That's nonsense.
Yeah, but this is the reality in Canada, and I wanted to talk about a great article that I saw. Maybe we can cover it tomorrow because we clearly won't have time today. But there's the National Post actually published an article that is, when you see stuff all together and you have nice graphs to show you what it looks like visually.
Yep.
Hearing numbers is one thing, but having a nice graph to actually put it together. But the article is older, 70% white, plunging fertility and lost faith. Who Canada is now. And you just go, oh, shit. Damn, I accessed it.
If you want, do you want to bring in that? Go plug it into
no.
that firewall.
I got it. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm doing it as we speak right now.
All right. I just while you do, I'm just going to comment here right quick.
Here, we have it.
Oh, you got it? Right.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay,
but all I wanted to show it to people is just to show that it has such great, like, it shows you who's Canada now. This is in 2021. Like, look at the numbers. Those are not from 2025. Like 2021, 2.5% of people in Canada were non-permanent resident. Right now, in 4 years, it's almost tripled. It's 7% of people in Canada are non-permanent resident. And look at the foreign born, 23% back in 2021. Now the numbers are closer to 30%, if I remember correctly. And I like how
that was like, well, it was a couple years ago. 4 years ago. Yeah. That was not long. It's not long ago. That's a massive
And I
change.
like how they call Indians South Asians instead of calling them Indians. Because Indians are getting a lot of flock in Canada for this now, right?
Well, what's hilarious is that's just a universal euphemism. That's like those Pakistani rape grooming gangs in the UK. The media calls them Asian gangs. Media calls them Asian grooming gangs. Like, no, motherfucker, nobody's thinking of, like, when you call someone an Asian gang, you're not thinking a bunch of Pakistanis going around. But of course, they do that very intentionally.
Of course they do. So look at the shift from immigration. Just look at that. The main places: India, Vietnam, Iran, Hong Kong, there's Italy, Pakistan, US, UK, China, Philippines. Do most of those countries align with our values? Like, do their culture align with our values? This is what blows my mind. Like, the vast majority of people should be coming from countries that are, and we're just talking immigration here, right? That's all we're talking about. We're not talking about asylum claims. But it's interesting how most of those places are not from countries that have the same culture as we do. Like, just look at it like this.
No.
It's religion in Canada, 5% Islam, 2.3% Hindu, 2.1% Sikh, 0.9% Jews, 53.3. We're not 53.3% of the population in Canada that are Christian. Because you were raised and you went to the church a few times doesn't make you a Christian. But look at that. Almost 35% of Canadians don't see themselves as religious at all.
It's interesting because we talk here a lot about, like, that magic number. Once you get like 10 or 15% of the country as Islam, historically, that is when they start to shift a little bit and demand change. And it just shows you how, in some ways, I was kind of surprised to see that as only 5%. But to me, that shows how disruptive they are in a country, because we've got all these problems, right? They're shutting down streets. They're doing this power moves everywhere they go. and it's only 5%. Like, yeah, you can see how when it gets to 10 or 15%, it's a real problem.
Their religion is political. It's not just religion. They show you how to take over countries. That's the whole point. Look at this. This is another interesting one. Growth of multi-generational household. 2021, 6.5% for Canadian born, and share of multi-generational household born outside of Canada, 40.5%.
Wow.
But you start seeing the massive difference since 2021. Either way, I just found the article to be interesting because they talk about a lot of the stuff we've approached, but they just put it all into one article with cool pictures. So it just makes it nicer to look at.
The visuals definitely help.
This is the National Post. This is mainstream media addressing this. So it's problematic when mainstream media is reporting on it. It's a problem.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Before we sign off, I'm just going to take this question here from Sheridan. He says, Rob, you're wrong. Immigration keeps wages low and home prices high while paying for pensions at the expense of young Canadian future generations. Well, I mean, I don't really think we're disagreeing here. I agree that immigration done the way it is right now does those things. It keeps wages low. And you had added another question here, or another comment. You said, Rob, as a carpenter, before I left Canada, let me ask, would you want an exchange student building your home or to maintain your infrastructure? Baristas don't build society. But again, we're not really disagreeing. I'm saying we shouldn't be bringing baristas over here. We shouldn't be bringing unskilled, uneducated migrants. If we bring only a number that is sustainable based on our population, which I don't know exactly what the number is, but it's way below where we are right now. And if we're bringing in, I'm talking about, I know, what's that program we constantly talk about with the LMIA?
You're talking about the temporary worker.
Yeah, the temporary worker. Yep. Something like that, but done correctly. Like that was never meant to bring over Tim Hortons workers or anything, right? That's for if you've got a high-tech industry and you need 20 engineers in a very specific, unique field that we just don't have here in Canada. Maybe you get those guys from China or what have you, right? Like that's what I'm talking about. If done correctly, immigration will not depress wages the way they are now, and we're not going to see large numbers of people being brought in to work at fucking Tim Hortons or as baristas. If again, reasonable people can hold different opinions on this. If your argument is we should just shut off immigration completely, I mean, I don't agree with that. I just think it should be done correctly. We're not anywhere close to being done correctly right now. We used to have a system that did work for a long time. I think up until maybe 10 years ago, the Canadian immigration system did work pretty well. It was done at a slow enough pace that people did not feel like they were being replaced. Newcomers came in and they had a sense of real patriotism because they knew what they had here. They knew they went through the process the right way. And they were in small enough numbers that they had to integrate. They had to. Now we're bringing in so many numbers that they all just will all congregate in certain cities. Like go check out Brantford now and try to count how many white people you see. And it allows for the creation of societies within society, which just tears at the social fabric and is never ever a good thing.
The fact that an international student is allowed to work in Canada compared to when I went back to school in my 20s, 20 years ago, they had to prove that they had the money to not only pay for school, but sustain themselves while they were here.
Yep.
Those are not there anymore. Most of the international students are given visas to work visas. And did you know that an international student can actually apply for asylum once they're here?
Oh yeah,
same thing
I
for
did
somebody with a visitor visa. How insane!
Your parents have enough money to spend the $30,000 a year on your tuition, and you're going to tell me you fear for your life back home? Come the fuck on.
But they don't even care. But like you said earlier, our system is so broken that they don't even care to become Canadians. That's not the goal. The goal, they know right now. Last year, if you remember, we spoke about this. We were looking at 16, 18 months to 24 months waiting time for asylum claims. The new minister at the end of last year of IRC said that it was closer to 4 years. And that's what all the numbers are showing me now, that a claim is taking 4 years. So why do you care? You show up here, I got a choice. I can live in India, or I can try to get to Canada and live off the system for 4 years.
And even if you get denied, you've
You
probably
don't
been
care. It's
able
going to take 4 years.
Yeah, and you've been able to bank probably $50K by then and send it home, and you've been living large. You got all your food paid for, your housing paid for, your phone paid for. Yeah, you don't care, and you've already got an Indian community here so you don't even feel like you're away from home. You've got everything you need. I suspect it's probably almost a rite of passage, the way that young Canadians or Americans might have gone backpacking across Europe for a year or two after high school. There's probably a bunch of Indians who that's just what they do. We'll just go and claim asylum for 2 or 3 years, live in Canada. That'll be our rite of passage, and then we'll come back and do, and obviously that is an abuse of the system. That is not the way that the asylum system is designed. And just to what you're saying there, like when I'm saying like we need to do immigration right, included in that is things like what you said. People should already have enough money to support themselves for several years. You should not be allowed to access any social government programs for some period of time, 3 years, maybe 5 years. You should have to have health insurance that you pay for those 5 years until your health insurance kicks in.
And I would argue that it should take you at least 10 years in order to be able to participate. Like you would have to participate for 10 years before taking it. You have to prove insurance. But I will also say that MPs shouldn't be allowed to be foreigners either. You shouldn't be allowed to represent Canadian values, elected to represent Canadian values, if you're not from here. That's another thing I think we need to change, because that's not right. That's not, look at Michael Ma being the perfect example. A Chinese-born guy is here, crossed the floor from elected as a conservative, crossed the floor to a liberal, and now he's going to be in China tomorrow, or today he's in China with Carney. Like, you tell me that that's right. You tell me that there's no conspiracy here. This is bullshit. That should not happen. If you're not Canadian born, you shouldn't be fucking allowed to be elected to represent Canadians. Yeah. Like, let's be honest here.
I see what you're saying. I don't know if I'd go quite that far, but I know what you mean, that there's something not right about coming to a new country and within 2 years you're in Parliament setting laws. I'd be okay with something like that same 10-year block, right? When your health insurance kicks in, you've been here long enough, it's assumed that you are integrated in society. I'd be okay with saying once you have that, then you can serve in Parliament or something like that. But
the more and more I see it, man, the more and more I'm like, screw this noise. Your kids could. I mean,
but these are the discussions. These are the debates that we have to have. These are the discussions that we have to have. However you exactly where you sit, and we can't have them right now, because to even suggest what, like I'm having the compromise, the sort of classic, the liberal position, and at least I'm saying, okay, I'm okay with a foreigner in Parliament as long as they wait 10 years. But even that position out in the real world would be shot down as racist. You know what I mean? Like, they would call that racist. And then the thing is I don't, my position comes from a place of, I think that if there are some talented and competent foreigners, I'm sure we've all met people who were born somewhere else and are true patriots. But that said, I don't, even if I don't necessarily think that you should have to be Canadian born to be in the Parliament, I also don't think it's a crazy position to hold either. It certainly is not a racist position to hold, and we need to be able to argue for these positions if we're ever going to get to the, how can we come to the right policy on any issue if we can't fucking, if 40% of the debate on that position is off limits because it's deemed racist.
I don't even care. Call me racist all you want. I really don't care anymore. That's not something that's going to stop me from saying it. But At the end of the day, some cultures don't align, and that's a fact. And that is a fact. And there's nothing wrong by wanting to protect
100,
Canada. There's
100.
nothing wrong with me wanting my son to experience Canada the way I experienced it when I was younger. There's nothing wrong with that. Canada is not India. Canada is not the Middle East. Canada is a cold fucking country in the Western Hemisphere. You do not want to respect our cultures, you can suck one and leave. We don't want you here. There's plenty of other countries that want you. And I always think about Poland. Poland's doing it right. And they're protecting their culture. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to protect your country's culture. Call it racist. I don't care. But I'm really fed up with that agenda that.
But that only goes one way, right? If an Indian said, over in India said, I really love my native Indian culture and I want to protect it, the woke left would be all over them, be like, yes, that's completely reasonable, completely appropriate. They would have no issues with that. It's only when you or I say that about our culture that it becomes a problem, which of course goes back to the whole woke left, not really being about principles, but being about self-hate. It's just about hating everything to do with the West.
Well, good stuff. Great show, man.
Yeah, it is.
We're like 11 minutes over.
Odin's Nosferatu. I like this one just because he says, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. It's actually Isaiah 54:17. It's the verse I have on my wrist right here. So,
I thought it was a penis. That's good.
Yeah, no, yeah. I drew over the penis. I drew Isaiah 54:17.
I thought that was a cock.
All right, guys. Excellent chat. Excellent conversation. As always,
guys. Before we go, because we got down the rabbit hole. So we need to thank our sponsor, which is Gabble, the world's first live video debate app on the market. You can choose to sit back and watch, or you can do like I do and show up and debate others. And those are the type of subjects that they have on there. So you can discuss immigration. You can discuss Trump taking over Greenland. That was one of the things they were discussing yesterday. So you can join Gabble. Yeah. You can debate others. You find subject you want to debate. People will go against you and you debate them. It's always polite. I've never had any problems up to now, and I'm kind of an ass. So if I can find good debaters on there, chances that you can too. So if you're interested, the link is in the description below.
Good debaters.
Hold on.
You might call them master debaters.
Masturbators. Yeah, I know where you're going with this. Ivermectin, Nico, I almost fell on the ice. Well, don't listen to this show when you're walking around on ice. Bro.
Yeah, Jesus.
Don't do it.
Jesus, yeah.
That's dangerous. That is dangerous.
All right, guys.
Agreed.
Pinner. Yeah, we went a little bit later, but it is what it is. The rabbit holes.
It's kind of what we do.
Yep. All right, guys. If you are watching the show and you want to support us, please consider becoming a member. You can do that through YouTube for the low price of $2.99 per month. You can also buy us a coffee, which you will see in your upper right-hand corner. And of course, another way to support the show is keep coming back. Throw those comments in there. Glad we were able to get to a lot more tonight than we were yesterday, just because we had that excellent guest. But yeah, as you can see, the show is heavily based on user participation, and we will take those comments as much as we can. Other than that, folks, have a great night. We will catch you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Peace.
Peace.